I don't know yet.
Oh, hold on. It's going.
I don't know.
It's definitely going.
Do we need a fancy clappy boy?
Give me a second.
That was aggressive. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was violent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Welcome back to the Modcast. My name is Gabe Anderson.
I'm Jake Overall.
And yeah, we're here to talk about modifying stuff.
Lots of different stuff.
Yeah. We wanted to kind of start out with, I don't know, I always like hunting around and finding cars and good deals and whatnot. Kind of runs in the blood. So we just wanted to kind of go around, and I was scanning Craigslist because it's not something that we really go on that often anymore. And I just wanted to show some cool finds that we got.
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace has kind of taken over a lot of what Craigslist used to do. But as it turns out, there's still some pretty cool shit on Craigslist.
There is. Just to kind of start out, this same guy's selling a couple of cool Mazdas. This an RX-2 sedan, the one that's here, unfortunately was smacked pretty good in the back. But he has a RX-3 wagon. This thing,
I would love to just
gorgeous.
Put it on air and make the rotary do as much rotary things as possible.
Yeah. 1960 sprint car. That really old school car that we had up on there.
Yep.
I don't know, just some fun other stuff. But the big thing, the 1989 Isuzu Mark 1. Kind of a fun little car. I had never even heard of these things before.
Me either. Looks like he's got a hatchback here. Thing's pretty cool. It's got some wheels on it. This is a 1.6 liter dual overhead cam 4-cylinder.
Yes, I believe so. It's NA. It's nothing crazy, but
sure. Stock wheels though.
Since I am, no aficionado on these, the guy said in the ad it's the factory Recaro seats and a Lotus suspension.
That's pretty cool,
right? I didn't know Isuzu made it. I guess now you know if you didn't.
Engine layout is actually similar to my car, but the battery placement's different. They did a lot of stuff with the reservoirs that's different. It's a pretty cool little car.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got two. Nice. He's got a 4-door sedan version, basically.
With a sunroof, I just noticed as well, actually.
Nice. It looks like the wheelbase is about the same there.
I bet you it is.
That's pretty cool.
Interesting styling.
I dig that. Mazda.
Yeah, we had seen the Mazdas at the front.
Let's talk about some stuff that Mazda's been doing. More specifically in the realm of inline sixes.
Yes. So, Mazda they officially came out with the release on the, CX-90 is the new SUV they had, but it has a 3.3 liter dual overhead cam inline 6, which is a brand new Mazda derived engine that is 300-ish horsepower. I don't have all the specs off the top of my head, but very, very interesting car, and the way that they decided to unveil it was through a bunch of different videos of them basically assembling the car and talking about the craftsmanship involved with it. And they had I don't remember what the guy's full name is, but he goes by Ant. He's a host on a lot of the Motor Trend shows.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was the mechanic on Wheeler Dealers in the early seasons. He was actually one of the guys that came in and talked about this car. And he actually, it was something along the lines of other manufacturers have something to look out for, or it's, a very impressive car. Yeah. Ant Anstead.
He's a cool dude. He's done a lot of really, neat repairs that require quite a bit of different skill sets together just to bring old cars back on that TV show.
Yeah.
Mazda is going all over the place with their engines. It turns out that they have an EV patent that I recently learned about last night from Engineering Explained, where they're using an electric motor, basically, to summarize it, to vary the speed in different ways of the camshaft to optimize the port timing on the intake as the engine speed increases.
That's very interesting. That's news to me. I didn't even know this video was out.
Yep.
I want to see this.
So they're doing that basically as an onboard generator for this electric system. It's pretty neat. They've got a few different ideas. They submitted multiple patents on this technology, but it kind of resembles a lot of what Toyota accomplishes with their engines, doing the Atkinson cycles and stuff for higher economy, especially with their hybrid models.
Very interesting. So, the inline sixes with Mazda also brings me up to another thing. This last week, we just finished the Sick Week Drag and Drive event down in Florida. I'll be honest, I didn't stay totally up to date on all of the cars. I was just interested in some of the stuff that was going on at the event. One of them is I don't want to say introduction, but it's an engine that's starting to catch a lot of steam here in the States, which is the Ford Barra Inline 6. This is once again, dual overhead cam, 4-liter, iron block, aluminum head inline 6 that you can get in a turbo variant, you can get in a NA variant. The NA ones don't really make any crazy power, but the factory turbo ones do pretty well for themselves. I think, what is it, up to 436 horsepower from the factory.
So it's the 2J's daddy.
But the big thing is being it's a cast iron block, it's heavy, but it holds a lot of power. And I know it is not uncommon to see these engines in the mid 4-digit, like 1,000, 1,500 horsepower range.
I believe
very,
it.
very, very, very cool engines. But the thing that also makes them so strong, too, is the crankshaft and the camshafts have factory girdles over the top of them, which is something that you'll see in a lot of high-performance applications in the aftermarket, but Ford just beat everybody to it, did it stock.
Makes sense to me. I mean, why not put out the best product that you can possibly make? And I guess
Make a ton of power with it.
Where did these come out? These were in Australia.
Yes, this is an Australian engine. It's discontinued, but I'm pretty sure it was 2002 to 2016 was the production year between all of the different variants of the engine and different displacements and whatnot. But the big one is the 4-liter one that everybody really likes.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of Ford, if you basically took a cylinder off of a Barra, more or less, not really, but
good transition. I like it.
Yeah. So Ford used to own Mazda. Similarities between their inline sixes, obviously, both in displacement and it looks like power output capabilities. Just a much newer, probably more economically focused engine, I would assume, for Mazda. So if you go over to Volvo, who was another company that Ford kind of held the hand up for a little while, but now they're doing some pretty insane things with Lotus, I believe. They had a whole run of inline 5 cars, and my brother owns a Volvo C30. Tell us about your Volvo, Nate.
Yeah, I'm Nate Overall, Jake's brother. I'm the proud owner of a black Volvo C30 2011, known as Black Mamba C30.
I like it.
It's kind of a light bolt-on build right now with big plans for the future. Really all it has done to it is a catless downpipe, a Elevate catback, same thing, Elevate intake, Turbo Smart blow-off valve, and a flash tune. Haven't gotten the chance to dyno it yet, but I estimate butt dyno-wise it makes about 280 wheel-ish.
I think it's pretty fair to say. I think it's a fair number.
Yeah, and it's only on 13 pounds right now, and I have plans of putting stronger wastegate actuator in it with a tougher spring and a new TCV, so I can make more boost. Looking for 17 to 20 pounds.
I think a good comparison for some people is you and I actually roll raced. My mom has a 2005 Mustang with the 4.6 liter. It's a 3-valve, and when you and I roll raced, I mean it was like you could have welded the doors together. It was nobody was pulling on anybody. It was just perfect acceleration next to each other. It was very, very fun.
Yeah.
What's the displacement on that inline 5?
It's a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder. It's a dual overhead cam. Stock turbo is pretty small. It's a K04 turbo. It's essentially the same thing as a stock Subaru turbo, the TD04. The only difference is, I believe the Subaru turbos don't have, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have a recirc valve on them, a CVV.
No, I don't believe so. You're getting too technical for me on those.
So I think
I like the aftermarket shit.
Yeah, so I think that's the main difference is the K04 does recirculate its boost, but I swapped it for a Turbo Smart dual port blow off valve because I got rid of the whole recirc system anyways.
Oh, okay.
So,
my car is still on a recirc system. It's just off of the intercooler instead of being like inside the turbo.
Oh yeah. So next coming up for that car, I think, is going to be a bigger intercooler because I'm kind of at the limits of that. It's going to be a ported and polished lower intake, and the billet upper intake, so it can actually hold the 20 plus pounds boost, because the stock intake is plastic and it's not capable of holding that. It'll break.
No.
Those are really only good for like 15 pounds. Another neat thing is it's the same chassis as the Mazda Speed 3 and the Ford Focus RS.
That's very interesting. So I knew that the 2.3 liter in the RS was similar to that of the Speed 3, but is there also a similarity? I mean, obviously it's a 4-cylinder, it's a 5-cylinder, but do they share any technology that you know between them?
Not that I know of.
But the chassis themselves are at least similar or the same?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're all the same chassis. They're all C1 chassis, down to the point where the Focus RS Mark III brakes will bolt onto my car.
That's very interesting.
You just have to ream the mounting holes on the knuckle 1 millimeter larger and space the rotor 5 millimeters. And
Okay.
I'm actually in the process of putting together my own big brake kit for it using the RS Mark III Brembos, because it's cheaper than Elevate's Willwood kit, and I've heard Willwoods haven't been in the sunshine
In
lately.
the
They're not doing
good
so
graces of everybody.
hot. Yeah, so
So we've got the Mark III here. If I'm not mistaken, your car is basically just a tuned-down front-wheel drive version of the European Focus RS.
yeah, so what we're looking at here is the Mark II RS from Europe. We didn't unfortunately get these or the ST of that year in the States, but it has the Volvo 2.5 liter 5-cylinder, same engine as my car.
Interesting, okay.
The C30 is detuned, and it's more along the lines of the ST from that year. That one, the Mark II RS, makes about 400 stock.
In a manual transmission, correct?
Yes, yeah, in a manual transmission.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
It seems kind of interesting to me that all the major brands are kind of going away from that, and Toyota was like, "Hey, we're just gonna,
Go
sell
back
one of
to
those."
Yeah.
I kind of would love to see another Volvo come back to the States just like that.
Yeah, I would love to see more fast Volvos. I think it's going to be coming down the pipeline here soon-ish. It's kind of hard to tell though, because what they've been doing with their Polestar company, which is the merger between Lotus and Volvo, is they made the Polestar 1, which was essentially just a high-performance S60 coupe with hybrid technology. It put down something around 700 foot-pounds of torque.
Okay.
But lately they've been doing just EV stuff, which is kind of disappointing because they had that twin-charged 4-cylinder.
I was going to ask you if it was the same Polestar. I didn't realize they actually had started with an internal combustion engine.
Mhm.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay.
Yeah, and Polestar used to be Volvo's race team, and Polestar used to do a lot of really cool stuff, like the S60 T6 R design prototype that they did. I believe they only made about 100 of them, but those had, I believed, improved rods is all they did because that was a 3-liter inline 6.
Okay.
I believe all they did was improve the rods and put a Garrett turbocharger on it, and it was all-wheel drive with a 6-speed manual, and it made 502 horsepower. And
That's
then,
fantastic.
yeah, it is. And they did Top Gear reviewed the C30 Polestar prototype that they did, which was all-wheel drive and turbocharged 5-cylinder.
I've seen that one. Okay. I
Yeah.
guess I didn't realize it was the same Polestar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because Volvo used to be a big name in British Touring Car World Championship. They used to actually they weren't number one, but they got a good amount of wins throughout the years with the 850 cars, the 240s.
Who doesn't love watching the fast wagons? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and unfortunately they pulled out of it. I guess it just wasn't in their best interest or anything. But the S60 Polestar cars, that was really the last race car Volvo built to compete with.
Okay. So, Nate, I got a question for you. So we know what you're modifying now, and obviously you have a big passion for doing all your 5-cylinder stuff. I don't blame you. They sound fantastic. You also have a Volkswagen Passat with the 5-cylinder as well, right?
I do, yeah. It has also a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder. It's the 07K. It's quite a popular engine with Volkswagen enthusiasts, but in the Audi TTRS and the RS3, I don't know if it's the same engine code, but it's essentially the same engine. It's a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder, but it's turbocharged, And out of the RS3 and the TTRS makes about a little over 400 horsepower stock.
Okay.
But it's very tunable. People are doing just simple bolt-ons and a flash tune and making 500 plus.
Everybody likes 500 plus at the wheels. I mean, I can't say I have it yet, but we're getting there. We're working towards it.
I've at least been in a car with 500 plus at the
There
wheels.
you go.
And it's a damn good time. So, you obviously really like Volvos. What was the first car you ever had? Was it also a Volvo? I mean, obviously I know the answer, but...
So the first car I ever had was a 2004 Chevy Cavalier.
Nice.
That I unfortunately crashed. So terrible.
Now, that was the two-door, like, coupe version, right? Or I don't know if it was a coupe necessarily, but two-door.
Yeah, so it was a weird model of the Cavalier because it was, as it was badged on the VIN number, it was a sport base or something like that.
Okay.
So where it was the coupe, but it didn't have anything like really cool going on with it. It just had a wing and a bumper, basically.
It's the sport appearance package, basically.
Yeah, essentially. Okay. Yeah, that thing, it had the 2.2 Ecotech. It had the dual overhead cam one at least, which I was in high school. I never had enough money to really, if I had money and still had it, I would definitely be going for some like ZZ Performance type stuff.
Yep.
Because I know these cars are very capable of making big power, just nobody does it. They always do it with the Cobalts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you already get the turbocharger, the supercharger with the Cobalt, so
yeah, it's a little bit easier.
Step up already.
Yeah, but after I crashed that, I got my first Euro car, which was a 1995 Volvo 850. Unfortunately, it wasn't a GLT or an R, so I didn't have a turbo yet, but
No.
It had the 2.4 liter naturally aspirated inline 5. It was a manual.
I think that was the car that kind of got all of us hooked on the 5 cylinders at that point.
Yeah.
You cut the exhaust off it, and then we were all in love at that point.
Yeah, because Jake had, a little bit before I got that car, ran his first TC over a ditch, and it ripped off the P-tuning exhaust. And it was pretty much junk.
Except for the tailpipe section.
Yep, which I cut up and TIG welded and did a muffler delete on my 850 with, and it sounded incredible.
There's a video on his channel. What's the name of your channel?
Something to do with my C30.
Something to do with my C30.
That's something. We'll get the official actual thing linked in there so you guys can see that if you'd like.
Absolutely. All right. Well, from there, what else do we have here? Anything new happening in motorsports that you'd like to talk about?
So I am not a NASCAR guy by any stretch of the word. It's one of those sports that I just never... I going out to school, I got a big appreciation for it. But it was just still one of those sports I never really got into. And yesterday was the Daytona 500, which I actually sat down to watch it specifically because Travis Pastrana was driving the number 67 Dixon Flannel Black Rifle Coffee Company car. Toyota Camry, actually. And I just wanted to see, just for fun, I wanted to see if the first time a guy gets in a cup car, if he can go in and win. So I had a little money on the race, so I was watching. Yeah, that was actually the car he was in last night. Great looking
nice
car.
livery on that
it was
car.
fantastic. Long and short, I didn't win any money. He got crashed out, I think it was the second overtime on the last lap. So white flag, I'm pretty sure, is when he got spun. But
That's unfortunate.
it's very interesting because being I haven't really been into NASCAR, and I know I'm late to the game with this, but I didn't realize that they broke the race up into stages at this point in time. So you have your first stage, which is 65 laps, and then you go on a caution, and then you do a second stage on a restart, and then there's a third stage on a restart. And just very interesting. It's not anything I'd ever had really thought to do with NASCAR, I guess. There you go. So 65, 65, 70.
It's really like a series of sprint races at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of how I interpret it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they're doing 500 miles in a short period of time. It's hard on the body. They need a quick break, of course.
Sure.
But
Everyone needs to take a breather and drink some water,
it's just very, very interesting to see.
Well, that's one thing that always brought me to Formula One was just the fact that their lap number is relatively low, but the amount of things they can change is obviously really high because so many things are happening on the track at one given time. I mean, you've got 20 spaceships basically planted to the ground out there. So, anything can happen, really.
Those cars just don't make any sense. They don't.
You were telling me that there's crumple zones on the NASCAR stock cars now?
Yeah, so instead of it being like one full frame, you have your chromoly cage almost as like a cockpit, and then you have an aluminum crumple zone in front of you and behind you, which can be bolted and unbolted from the car.
Now, do you know if that's like a tremendous weight savings, if it's a penalty, if that's mostly for safety?
I think it's a safety related thing.
Safety thing?
Yeah, it's all about safety. I mean, the cars are fast. They were clocking, I think, like 192-ish on the straights at Daytona. I mean, you crash going that fast, and you better hope the guy that was welding knew what he was doing.
Yeah, definitely. Max Verstappen he crashed. I won't say that he got pushed off, but I think he got pushed off. And he was doing about $190, and he went right into the wall sideways. And when they asked him, they asked him 2 times. They're like, "Hey, are you okay?" And his only response was just, yeah, there's nothing like your body becoming like, well, how much more of a G could you possibly pull on Earth other than a race car crash?
Stuck to the ground, there's not much.
Not much at all.
Maybe being in a train. Besides that, no. It's very interesting.
Well, from there, I mean, not a whole ton of extra things going on this past week. The Mazda stuff is obviously really interesting. I do appreciate that these companies are going out of their way to maintain the internal combustion engine, at least as something that's produced, whether, they're attaching it as a generator or not. It's still a rotary, and like we said before,
still there.
They're Legos, and
yeah, we'll pull those out and swap them into something at some point.
Exactly.
So rotary swapped Passat.
There, see, now we're talking. Get that Volkswagen engine.
There's
out
an
there
idea.
Anyway.
That thing's side dumped, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's extremely loud.
Really loud side
the way it
dump
should
Passat. It sounds pretty great. It's not fast, but it looks cool and it sounds really good.
Yes, it does.
Maroon 5 cylinders. Hey, the Maroon 5 cylinder. What'd you name that car? If it's not Adam Levine, I hate you.
I don't have a name for it yet.
It's Adam Levine now.
Yep. Yeah, we can make it Adam Levine.
It's the Maroon 5.
I like that.
Well,
there'll be more content on all of that as we go forward here. So I think that pretty much covers everything we wanted to take a look at. Actually, hey, there was one thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about my CO2 car.
You know what? We meant to bring that up last week and we didn't. Let's see if I
So-
can flip back a page without making too much noise.
When I was in school, we had this teacher who taught pretty much everything like advanced computer design. So he had architecture, he had CAD, he taught like SolidWorks, obviously using 3D printers, laser printers. We were doing all sorts of things. And one of the things that he tested us on was building a CO2 car out of wood.
I unfortunately didn't take this class when we were in high school, but I have to say I have to commend you for how you built that car, because you built it to true hot rodder standards. As you took it to the absolute limits of the minimum requirements for everything.
Yes, I did.
Weight, length, everything. It was as small, light, and as fast as it could be, right?
Absolutely. I basically just looked at that as like the blueprint for just make it that, and it will be the fastest thing. And I was absolutely correct. This is, what it looks like. I put this little wing basically in the middle of it, which in some of these other photos you'll be able to see. Give me a second. That it sits. No, that's basically the same thing. It's a structural piece, and it also, not that aerodynamics matters a whole lot in a matter of like 6 feet that we tested these things on, but it would act as an aerodynamic sort of piece to keep the drag off of the cylinder of the CO2 cartridge itself.
And downforce, really, too, looking at it.
Yeah, that was the idea. I mean, it's made of wood, and it's wood and plastic, but the concepts are there.
It was guided by string, correct?
Yeah, it's got those little eyelets on the bottom, and yeah, we had it on a string. It was laser timed, and this was the fastest CO2 car that he had ever had.
Looks like a mini Top Fuel car.
It's really what it is.
That's
the way it should be.
Why it has the big wheels on it. It actually ran slower with the big wheels, and then I took another set of the small front wheels and ran it again, and it broke the record by like a long shot.
Nice. Wow. The way it should be. See, hot rodding is fantastic. Modifying stuff, making it better.
Even if it's just
Always.
wood.
Exactly.
Always make stuff better.
Hey, it made it interesting, kept you focused on it, you know?
Absolutely. Otherwise, it could have just been a boring class, but we could see the practical application of what we were doing, which is, I think, important.
I got one other thing as well. We didn't get a chance to ask you this, Nate. Why do you modify cars?
Because I'm absolutely obsessed with internal combustion engines and
Okay.
cars in general.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Is there anything in particular that drives you towards doing it, or is it literally just the cars themselves?
I think it's just the car. It's almost like an art form to me. Like, I remember being a little kid growing up in the apartment in Wolfboro and everything, and seeing, like, modified cars driving by on the highway, and just
The
being
sounds,
absolutely
the looks.
entranced by it. And it just, now that I'm older and have a steady job and have money and no girlfriend or any other ties, I just dump it all into my car.
Why not modify? Okay.
Exactly.
Makes perfect sense to me.
I respect that. That's
It's something you can put your time and money and hard work into that actually gives something back that is tangible.
it's something you can be passionate about, and something that, you know, it's the saying of if you don't turn around in the parking lot to look back at your car, you bought the wrong car.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's something you can be proud of. They're
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah, it's an extension of myself. That's why I like that car so much, is because it's basically everything I wanted in a car.
It's a really clean car.
It
It
is.
is.
It's fun. What size tires under that again?
245s, but they're Federal 595 RSRRs.
It sticks to the road pretty well.
Yes,
That's what
it
we're
does.
trying to say.
Yeah, we mentioned our 888Rs in one of the previous episodes. These are comparable to those.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say that's a pretty good way of putting it.
They are quite sticky indeed.
They're both 200 treadwear tires.
It's perfect.
I couldn't afford our 888Rs, so you know.
Next best thing, why not?
Do you have
Hey, I rode in it. It hits the corners pretty well.
Yes, it does.
any complaints with those tires?
Road noise, that's about it.
Yeah, it took 200 treadwear.
Yeah, that's,
Oh,
that's
well.
it. When it's cold, it just sounds like a rock going down the road, but when they warm up, it makes it worth it.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
Well, I guess with that.
I guess that's everything we need. I think we hit everything we were looking for.
So this was the Modcast.
I'm Gabe Anderson.
I'm Jake Overall.
I'm Nate Overall.
Have a good night.